All right, everybody got a coffee or a drink to hang out? I put a call out on my Instagram. I did it for a couple weeks straight. I was collecting questions for a frequently asked questions episode. So today, let's get into some of those questions. Just gonna keep it casual. All right, flipping through the questions here, we got some silly ones. Let's try and get some welding related ones first. All right, we got a really good one here. This is from Timmy Bassman, or Timmy Baseman. Sorry man, I hope I got that right at least once. So this one asks, when TIG welding aluminum, why do some tacks sometimes crack? Is it too much heat or not enough heat issue? This is a really good question. I did an episode on specifically this details right here. I'll put all these episodes I recommend in the description as well. It really depends on what joint you're doing. One of the most common ones I see cracking is TIG welding a butt joint when we're practicing this joint in my program. A lot of the time what happens is somebody will put one single poor lonely little dab of filler rod on a joint, and then as the joint settles after it is starting to cool, it's gonna obviously crack. Now, there are a lot of other variables that will help to contribute to controlling this. Placement is one of them, the size and the amount of filler material you put into a tack. These are all things that are gonna help with this. However, what I prefer to do is I usually do a tack in 2 steps. This way we have one tack that's probably gonna counteract a lot of the force that is gonna happen as far as shifting, distortion after the fact, and a little 2-step tack like this is gonna work as a little team. They're gonna help prevent this from cracking. Obviously, as things go a little bit crazy sometimes, this is still gonna crack too. But essentially, I recommend doing a tack in 2 steps instead of 1, and make sure you use adequate filler material. That's gonna give you the best chance to prevent something from cracking. All right, Mr. Just Dave. What are the best ways to put reference marks on steel or aluminum that can be seen while welding, but don't contaminate the weld? Very good question. This is a great question, actually. Actually, let me tell you a story. This has happened to me a couple times. When I was doing a weld test, I think one of them specifically was an overhead wire feed test. That's right, your boy's pretty nice on the gun as well. There was the first time I took this test. I used a marker and I marked it out clear as day. Could not have been any more obvious, exactly where my stop-start was on the test. Of course, when you're doing something like an overhead weld, it is a complete zoo once you begin welding. Sure enough, I was cruising along thinking, man, I feel like I've been welding for a while. I haven't seen that mark go by, so I better keep going. It was only about when I finally caught a glimpse of the end of the joint ahead of me, I realized I'd gone way too far. It's a great example how sometimes even when you think you can see it clearly, you can't see it that clearly. What I like doing is using something like this. It's basically just a scribe. This is a piece of tungsten in the end that I've sharpened. Especially with aluminum, this is gonna be clear as day. You're gonna be able to see it in most circumstances. In my program, when we lay out our plates, this has basically all been done with a ruler and a scribe. We're just gonna scribe out lanes. We're gonna organize our plates to ensure we're achieving the proper width, proper size and everything as we move along. It's a great way to mark your stuff out. I'll throw this episode up as well. This one I actually detailed how I lay out an art piece. I do an art piece with a Dremel tool. It's like a diamond bit or something like that. It's labeled in that episode, check it out. But that'll get you going so you can start welding and not get lost. Okay, MD in the shop. Hey Dusty, would you have some tips and tricks on welding up a roll cage? Having to TIG pipe that is constantly changing orientation is tricky, and using a foot pedal often is not possible. Yeah, I'll throw an episode up here. I'll find the right one for you when I edit this. It'll be in the description below. That's gonna go over some coped pipe. I think I did a little exercise in this one where I kind of went around some crazy joints. This is stainless steel. I've done this kind of thing with stainless steel, mild steel, chromo, all kinds of aluminum, obviously. But yeah, it'll give you a lot of ideas of kind of ways you can go about positioning things because yeah, welding overhead gets pretty tiresome. Probably the biggest thing I would recommend, here, I'll give you a little example right now. Where are you? There you go. This here is called a Bessie clamp. There's a bunch of names for them. You can use a Bessie clamp, you can use a pipe clamp. I got a couple of those around here too. You can also do this, whoa, 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 whoa. I'm wearing flip-flops too. I don't want to drop nothing on those. Another thing you can use is one of these bad boys here. Is an old C clamp. It's all rusty, works fine though. Anytime you're working with something, especially overhead, I'm always gonna make sure that I'm comfortable. If you have to weld something overhead where your hand's gonna be kind of awkward, I will put a clamp on something else. So this way I always have something to rest my forearm on. Same with a Bessie clamp or a pipe clamp. If you got something over here that you can somehow get a pipe clamp on, you now got something to rest your hand all the way out here. Pipe clamps are great. Bessie clamps are great also because they reach out a lot further. If you got something you can put a clamp on, think about where you can put them. It'll help you out to stay steady. And also using a foot pedal. Listen, this is personal opinion, but I hate using thumb triggers. I need adjustment as I go, especially something where I'm possibly going to be traveling around angles. I need to be able to feather back the pedal if I need to. So I've gotten pretty creative with how I can use a foot pedal sometimes. I'll demo a couple examples here. Here you can see I'm down, I'm proposing basically. I can sit cross-legged, I can pump it with my knee as well. I've even done stuff like this. We'll call this one the thigh master. Put it in between my knees as I'm sitting awkwardly. I've been in some crazy situations, been inside stuff welding, on top of stuff welding, underneath stuff welding. Oh, there's another one here. I actually have done this one several times. Laying down underneath a trailer or something like that. I'll put it behind my head. This one actually works fine. Again, this one's just keeping me sharp, all my body parts. We're gonna do whatever we can to get the weld done. I hope that helps. Okay, this one's from my good buddy Prashil. Prashil is an awesome BMX flat rider. I've ridden with Prashil quite a few times. We've rolled around Toronto together, go get poutine in Montreal. I appreciate you reaching out, man. I hope you're well. Anyway, Prashil asks, how do you balance passion for welding with passion for BMX? Oh my gosh, dude, this is a tricky question. Listen, if I had complete freedom to do whatever I wanted, I would probably ride every day. I would work out every day, and I would play music every day. That's all I do. I would be so happy to do that, aside from family time, obviously. But welding has become a really important thing for me to continue with. I want to get better at it, and I want to spread it to as many people as I can with this channel that you're watching right now. So unfortunately, just the workload that I've taken on doing YouTube episodes pretty often, working with students multiple times every day, it takes a lot of time. So unfortunately, BMX has kind of had to take a back seat. I still ride, I still get out, especially when the weather's nice. There's nothing better than leaving my phone here, taking some tunes and going to ride outside somewhere is the best, man. Prashil, you know what it's like, man. Flatland is a very, very busy battle where you gotta stay with it and you gotta work very hard to learn, especially to get the level that you were at. It's a lot of work, man. And to anybody else who has a passion that's very similar as well. So even though I'm super motivated about BMX still, it's just gotta chill for a little bit. I'll just use it as a therapy, man. Like I really just enjoy getting out, clearing my mind, riding my bike. I've still got all my tricks. I haven't slipped on any of them. But yeah, unfortunately, I'm just really focused on what I'm doing here right now. That's my priority. Family's my next priority. And then my recreational time, I'll take that when I can get it. Okay, I love anchovies. Attire, please. Boxers, briefs, maybe commando. Wife wants to know. My wife or your wife? I'm confused. Let's just say, I keep it pretty casual around here. I'll just leave it at that. Jaden_M_L. What sort of music do you listen to? Also, I'm sure you've said before, but what made you want to become a welder? Thank you for the question, I appreciate that. I listen to all kinds of music. I really, really passionately follow a lot of different genres of music. I love rap music, I love punk music, I love metal. I also listen to a lot of soundtracks to movies, so instrumental scores. If you don't follow Hans Zimmer does the best soundtracks on the planet. He just won a Grammy for doing the soundtrack to the movie Dune. Oh my God, that's the best soundtrack I've ever heard. If I could hire Hans Zimmer to do all the music to my art episodes, I would. But especially when I'm doing something like an art piece, I'm in here with the headphones in, I ain't paying attention to anything else, I'm just living in the moment. I listen to something like a soundtrack from that guy. I love Blink 182, I love Nipsey Hussle, I love Every Time I Die, I love Post Malone, I don't care what anybody else says. All kinds of music, especially my kids. My kids are 5 years old and 2 years old, and they love music already. There's no kids music in our house. We listen to all kinds of stuff and they love music already. It's the best thing ever. All right, we got size 1703. Please tell everybody to wear long sleeves. I see so many IG pictures of people welding with freaking tank tops. What are the best TIG welding gloves? Thank you for the question and the PSA. That's actually very, very important. Cover up your skin, people. I admit I sometimes was an idiot growing up where I just wouldn't gear up the way I should. I got lots of sunburns. I got burns all over my forearms and stuff. It's not worth it. Please take care of your body, as well as stretching, foam rolling, all kinds of stuff that are gonna keep you welding longer and being healthy while you do it. Take the time to do it. My gloves, obviously, lots of them here. Defiant metal, black gloves too. I love these gloves, they're absolutely awesome. I actually rocked these gloves well before I was sponsored by Justin at Defiant Metal. I genuinely love these gloves. They last a pretty long time. You have great dexterity with them. Justin offers several different kinds of gloves, and these two here are my absolute favorites. So if you're gonna order some, for sure use my link. I'll put my link in the description below. It tells Justin that your boy sent you over there. So he'll appreciate that. I appreciate that. But do some research as far as what ones you need. He has different options. They do different jobs, so check that out when you order some. Robert Fazekas. Sorry, dude, if I said your last name incorrectly. What's up, Robert? It's a good friend online. I would love to move to Canada. Can you adopt me? 3 laughing faces. I don't know if I can adopt you. Our rooms are full, man. I got 2 kids. We're good in here. But I tell you what, you come up here, you come kick it in the studio here, we'll do some welding together. I'll take you out for food. How's that sound? I like ramen. Do you like ramen? If so, man, we're good. Okay, another really good one here. Kevin R306. Do you do CWB stuff? Are you part of your local CWB association chapter? This is a great question. I am fully certified in my CWB tickets. CWB is the Canadian Welding Bureau. It's the governing body in Canada here that issues all the actual certification that's recognized by pretty much every welding business in the country. I have all my tickets for TIG welding, obviously all positions. I have my all positions wire feed, MIG welding, and all positions, if you don't know already, it's a series of positions that you qualify to test. The first one obviously is flat, next one's horizontal, next one's vertical up, and then the final one is overhead. There's different tests. Sometimes they're groove welds, sometimes they're fillet welds. It depends what you're doing. But yeah, I've done them all and I currently hold valid tickets for all this stuff. I also went back to school, check the certificate out here. See here, this is my actual certification for my Certified Welding Supervisor's ticket. So I did my apprenticeship, which I went through 3 levels of schooling for. That was a lot of fun. I went back for a specialty metals ticket that kind of taught me a little bit more about welding whatever specialty metals is. It was like stainless steel, aluminum, lots of TIG welding stuff. I was hoping to get into a little bit more TIG welding, but it was pretty cool. I actually enjoyed it a lot. So I went back for that. That also qualifies me for my A-level ticket, which is the highest ticket that somebody can hold, I think at the moment, at least for just general permanent tickets. Again, I'd have to look into this. It's been a while since I checked it, but that's in British Columbia, BC, on the west coast of Canada. That's where I live. And then I went back for my certification in welding supervisors. That was cool. It was stressful. It was a lot to study for, but I did it. I got it done, and I was thrilled to pass that one because I was nervous on that test. And then there's another question from someone named Stainless Welder. What is your best advice for somebody who hasn't been welding for a long time except practice? Practice smart. Don't just go practice random stuff. You got to know exactly where you are with your skill level and work your way up from there. I did an episode right here. This one talks about that specifically. Please watch this episode. It'll let you know exactly some things you can do to make your practice time as efficient as possible, save you some time, save you some materials. All right, we got another one here. How are the CanaWeld products doing? Looking to get my first AC capable rig and thinking it may be the way to go. Michael, yeah, my CanaWeld machine, I still use it. I used the CanaWeld machine for a project not that long ago. I actually took my machine to a buddy's house with a bottle and got a job done for him. These machines are really, really dope. Out the box, these things weld as smooth as you can imagine for aluminum AC welding. Don't like the whip that it comes with, so if you're gonna get this machine, make sure you get a whip that you're comfortable with. I just find this one a little bit bulky. Some people love it, that's totally fine. It's just not for me. As well, it doesn't come with a foot pedal. I need a foot pedal. So if you're thinking about that, give it some thought, pick up a foot pedal as well. But that machine is dope. All right, Pavel Kaleva, I'm really sorry if I butchered that pronunciation. I'd like to know more about tungsten you use and how you prepare them. I mean with the round ball-ended ones. Yeah, great question. I prefer this tungsten setup for aluminum because of the balance, the way the machine works. Having a ball on the end of my tungsten just gives it a little bit better life. You can afford to have some inaccuracy as far as what your balance is set up as, which meaning if you're running a pointed tungsten or a blunted tungsten, your balance has got to be really, really perfect. If it's not perfect, you're going to get weird shapes on the end of your tungsten. The end of your tungsten may start to flutter and misshape. It's going to be tricky to find that sweet spot with the balance compared to what amperage you're welding at. So just because I want to come in here and I want to bash away on something, get it done as quick as possible, I run a ball on the end of my tungsten. It lets me hold a better balance and that tungsten lasts a lot longer. All right, Prince Sean, the Fresh Prince. Do you have a cooling plate for your stainless art? Yeah, I do. I have this one here, which I just kind of work on. I like it to be as flat as possible so I don't do any artwork on this piece. I do have a similar one. It's the exact same size. I actually have this one set up so I can spin it around on my table. Again, this episode here kind of shows basic setup of how I like setting things up. That's an old episode. So that's in the description as well. Okay, beefy welds. How do you clean your Pyrex glass cups? Mine are gross. Throwing my first arcs yesterday, I made a few mistakes. LOL. I was thinking of hitting it lightly with a blowtorch, but afraid they might become deformed. I have no idea about a blowtorch. Maybe do some research on that one first. I know personally I use edge cups. These are Pyrex cups as well. If you have edge cups, their customer service is incredible. If you have any questions, hit them up. They'll help you out. Personally, I don't use these for aluminum ever. There's a couple reasons why I don't use them, mostly because they're really expensive and I don't want to wreck them. I've been welding for 20 years. I still dip my tungsten all the time. It happens. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna make sure I'm gonna use something like a aluminum cup or a ceramic cup for aluminum. That way when I dip, because it's gonna happen, and stuff looks like this, you could just grab a little scraper or a piece of tungsten or whatever, scrape them out, wire brush them, give them a scrub with some Scotch-Brite on a hand pad. You're gonna be able to clean those ones up really nicely. You can't do that with Pyrex cups. They become scratched, they become chipped, you can break them really easy. I personally just don't use them for anything I'm gonna risk wrecking them because I like them too much. What else we got here? Oh, this is a good question. Depending on how much gas flow you have, does this change the outcome of the weld, or is it just the perfect amp and how clean the material is? That's a great question. Gas flow absolutely can make a difference to how your weld behaves. Our gas always is gonna serve the purpose to clean the area as best as we want. We're gonna use our gas to create an envelope, a little environment that's gonna eliminate our atmosphere from it. That's the most important thing, but you're gonna start to notice if you start to crank your gas up a little too high, especially with aluminum, you're gonna notice that puddle behaves completely different. The puddle's gonna be a little bit shakier, a little bit less accurate. The finish is gonna be totally different, but again, on the flip side, you don't run enough gas, you're gonna get a different finish on that as well. Stainless steel also is the same. If you don't have enough gas running for whatever cup orifice or cup size you are using, you are gonna have an inadequacy of gas coverage and you're gonna oxidize your welds. Again, on the flip side, if we run too much gas through a cup, you're gonna blow your puddle around a little bit. You're gonna start to notice that there's weird little whiffs of contamination coming in. Just because you're creating gas turbulence by running too much gas. So my advice would be do your research as far as what volume is recommended. For the cup size you're using, that's gonna be a big metric in determining how much gas to use. Okay, we got another one here from WNRWNRMXS. Whew. I asked on YouTube, but I will ask here too. Sorry I didn't get back to you. YouTube's a little busy. I want to know tips and tricks for knowing how to get proper penetration and passing CWB tests for TIG welding. Yeah, rad. Good luck. Running tests is fun. Honestly, making sure you're hot enough for sure. You want to make sure that you punch in the material. Having a torch that's set up properly for whatever joint it is you're doing. Making sure you don't overfill. Using filler material is obviously gonna help to control the shape of everything, but the purpose of a weld test is to punch in as far as possible. So we're not gonna worry about making everything looking absolutely perfect. You still wanna make them look obviously very nice and keep them in the size tolerances that they require for the test. But I find using a little bit less filler material, and I'm talking a tiny bit less, not a lot, just enough so we can really make sure we watch the puddle, fully dig in and get the penetration we want, and we don't overfill it to block penetration with the next step. I did do an episode, that one's right here, it's in the description below, about one of the biggest problems I had with passing tests. I could put in all the practice I want, but I just got crazy nervous. Anytime I was nervous, I would fail tests like crazy. I don't know how many tests I've taken to this day, definitely in the dozens for sure. But yeah, I've got it kind of mastered, and it's not so much on the practicing side, it's more on the mindset side. Because I got so nervous back in the day, I need to now come in completely confident, completely relaxed, having a nice day so far, and we're just gonna do it like it's a weld we're doing any other day. Check that episode out. That's a really important one. It kind of talks about the mindset, just being like not stressed and stuff like that. It might help you out. All right, we got a silly one here. My friend Greg. What's up, Greg? Hamburgers, chicken, or steak on the grill? Which do you prefer? Dime. Thank you for the question. My wife's a vegetarian, so we get down with a lot of veggie food, but like obviously I eat meat. I really enjoy chicken. Chicken and seafood is like one of my favorite things to do. I'll do a big mess of vegetables on the barbecue. I'll do like a giant chunk of chicken, and then yeah, prawns. We got lots of good seafood where we live. I'll throw a ton of that on there as well, and that's all I eat all summer basically. It's nice. Thank you so much for the good questions. Follow me on Instagram, get in on this one. I'm gonna try and do this once every 6 weeks or something like that. So please jump in on the questions. It's a blast. Thank you so much to everybody who sent in those questions. Go do a random act of kindness for a stranger today. For Pacific Arc Tig Welding, my name is Dusty, Phil, and Chill. We'll talk soon. Peace.